It's like you're making progress and then you're 2 steps back. As soon as you lose that consistency, you're 2 steps back. And hence, you have to again make efforts to reach that particular point where you were more fluent. So that is the thing, you need to be consistent. Hi everybody, how are you all? Hope you're doing great and welcome back to another session of learning English with me. Now today I'm going to address something that is very important regarding fluency. Now the end goal of learning English is to become fluent in English so that we can speak English fluently. Whenever we speak English, we speak it in a fluent manner. We are able to speak it confidently, easily, with a flow. But the thing is that, have you wondered that there are few people that you might know and it seems like they never get fluent in English. They might be making so much efforts, still it's like they're not improving, they're not getting to the fluency, to their end goal of fluency. So why does this happen? Why some people are never able to get fluent in English? If you have wondered about this, if you think that you might fall into this category, you might not become fluent, do not worry. Today I'm here with this video with all the reasons why this happens, why people are not able to become fluent in English. Some people, they are never able to become fluent in English. What are the mistakes that they do that you can avoid in order to become fluent in English? So I'm gonna tell you all the reasons, the mistakes, and I'm telling you this so that you can avoid doing them, you can avoid these mistakes, and you can keep a close eye on whatever you are doing, your progress, so that you get to the fluency. Are you ready for this? I'm Shivangi Gupta, your English language tutor, certified by the University of Cambridge, the UK, and you're watching Speak English with Shivangi. Before beginning, I would like to request you to please subscribe the channel because you get one English video lesson every day on this channel. Like the video and share it with your friends too. Coming back to the lesson today, so why some people are never able to become fluent in English? Why do they never get fluent? Now see, fluency is something that is dependent from person to person. Again, I have told you, but the end goal of becoming that fluent in English, a rough figure of fluency for everyone is, a rough image of fluency for everyone is to be able to speak English in a flow without taking too much pauses, without translating, without thinking about complex grammar rules, that you are able to speak in English whenever you want to. That is something a lot of people consider as fluency, and that is true. That is your basic level of conversational fluency. Now, how to achieve that and why some people are not able to get that depends on some factors, some mistakes that they might be making that they are not even aware of. So there are few mistakes that people make, and that can actually lead to not getting fluent because constantly they are stuck in this particular cycle of repeating those actions, which again takes them to the square one, back to the square one, that is from where they started, and the cycle never ends. So that you don't get stuck into this particular cycle of trying to become fluent, then not able to get to the fluency, then trying again to become fluent, and then not to be able to get that fluency. In order to break that cycle and have a linear progress graph, look at all the 5 mistakes that I'm going to list now that these people make so that you can avoid them. Okay, let's begin with the reasons. Reason number 1 is the lack of proper output. Now, what do I exactly mean by that? Lack of proper output. So I have always talked about input and output. Input is what you are consuming in English and output is what you are producing in English. So input is your listening and your reading. Output is your speaking and writing. And out of speaking and writing, speaking is much more valuable because we are talking about fluency, and fluency is spoken language, spoken English. Fluency means the way you speak. So speaking matters a lot. These people, they take lots and lots of input. They are taking the input. But the thing is that there is a lack of output. which is an obstacle in their journey of fluency. See, if you're consuming English, that's the first step. That is very necessary to have some kind of input in English. Obviously, without an input, you cannot produce an output. But if you have a lack of output, that is speaking opportunities, whatever you are learning, maybe that is vocabulary, pronunciation, whatever you are learning, if you are not producing it back, you're not speaking it out, you will not get to the fluent level, that level of fluency that you have imagined you want to achieve. Sometimes what happens is that people often think that let us complete some grammar, let us learn some vocabulary, let us listen, read, but they hesitate in speaking. They're not ready to speak. They think that they will start speaking, at least let them learn something in English first, let them get to some kind of level in English, and then they will start speaking. And that is the biggest mistake. That is your lack of output. You're not focusing on your output. That is your speaking. Because if you won't speak from day one of learning your English, you will not be able to improve. So when we talk about English levels, like I have talked about A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 levels, these levels are dependent on your all four skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So you see, speaking is a part of your even beginner's level of English. So at whatever level you are, you need to start speaking from day one. Speak and improve. Learn and improve. So it's like learning your vocab, improving your grammar, and speaking. Everything goes hand in hand. They're not separate entities, not at all. So your lack of output actually hinders your fluency. Whatever you're learning, remember to use it when you're speaking English. Remember to practice it in your spoken English, spoken form. Whether it's grammar, whether it's vocab, remember to speak it out loud. Mistake number 2, that is focusing too much on complex grammar rules. Now, complex grammar rules. I'm not saying that you should avoid grammar altogether. I've talked about it, that why grammar is necessary, but how to approach this grammar is very important. Imagine someone who's at a beginner's level, or maybe who's at lower intermediate level, like A1, A2, B1. If they are constantly paying attention towards complex grammar rules, they are constantly trying to learn the rules, apply them when they are speaking, they'll end up nowhere. They will struggle for fluency because constantly they're burdening their brain, their mind with all the rules that they're learning while they're speaking English. So this obsession with the complex grammar rules get them nowhere, because there is a particular time in your learning journey when you need to introduce complex grammar. Beginning stages is not that, or your intermediate stages is not the right stage to introduce the complex grammar rules. If you're at a C1 level, go for them. You're perfectly fine to learn any complex grammar rule that you want to, because now you have developed a capability of speaking English, understanding English, you know vocabulary, you know phrases, which will help you understand those complex rules too. But at the beginning level, what you should focus on is your listening, your vocab, and your speaking. Basic grammar and basic English is much more important instead of complex grammar rules at the beginning stages of your learning. And this will help you increase your fluency. Why? Because you feel more confident in speaking English. When you're speaking basic English at the starting, you're able to speak it easily without thinking too much. And when this happens, automatically you gain confidence to improve. So at the beginning, do not fall trap to the complex grammar rules, complexity of grammar. Start with vocab, start with phrases, start with basic English. Listening English, reading English, and speaking English. Focus on that. That should be your main goal. Mistake number 3, that is not being consistent enough in your learning journey. So not being consistent, that is something that hinders you from your fluency, that hinders you from getting to the fluent English, because consistency is required. A lot of people think that if they are paying attention towards their English for 2 hours in a particular day, and then they don't learn it, or they don't interact with English at all for 3 to 4 days, It's totally fine. No, it's not. The time that you're giving, in what way you are giving it, in what way you are planning your time is important. Instead of giving 1 hour on a Saturday and then not doing anything the rest of the week, that's a blunder. What you can do is you can at least divide 10 minutes each day. That is consistency. So consistency in any language is important because language is like a skill. When you're learning a skill, you have to be consistent. One day of losing that particular consistency can cost you your fluency. It's like you're making progress and then you're 2 steps back. As soon as you lose that consistency, you're 2 steps back. And hence, you have to again make efforts to reach that particular point where you were more fluent. So that is the thing, you need to be consistent. And then when people give up their consistency, they're not consistent, still they're looking for great results, they are met with disappointment. Because disappointment is inevitable if you are not consistent. Speaking is a skill. The more you speak, the more you improve, and then you speak vocab you're learning, you're using that in your speaking practice, more perfect you will become in your fluency. More perfect you will become in speaking English. So the thing is that do not stop your consistent efforts. Be consistent. That is the only way to become fluent in English, and divide it. If you're not able to pay attention for 1 hour daily, do not think that giving 1 hour, 1.5 hours on a weekend is enough and then I'm not gonna do anything for the rest of the week. At least give 10 minutes each day or 10 minutes on alternative days. A consistent study pattern is required in order to become fluent in English. Mistake number 4, that is waiting for the perfect opportunity to start speaking. Now, waiting for this perfect opportunity, which will never come. A lot of people wait for the perfect opportunity to start learning English, to start making progress, to start speaking English out loud, to start speaking it in the real situation. I'm not talking about just your speaking practice, but speaking English. Not practicing English, speaking English. That is speaking out in the real world. They wait for the perfect opportunity. They think that we are doing our speaking practice, let us get more fluent and then we'll start speaking in the real situation. It's totally different. Remember, I gave you one example long ago and I'm going to repeat it right now. That is of driving. Driving in a ground, practicing in a ground is totally different than the real driving on the road on a highway. And speaking practice and speaking English in the real situation is just like that. When you're practicing your English, you're in a totally different environment. You're actually in your comfort zone. But when you have to speak it out loud in front of somebody, in the real situation, in the real conversation, it takes lots more effort than just practicing it alone or practicing it with a partner you're comfortable talking to. So the thing is that you need to start practicing and then speaking English in the real situations too as soon as possible. Do not wait for a perfect opportunity to strike. Do not wait for a perfect level to be achieved in order to use that English you're learning in the real situation. So go use it right away. That is the only way to become fluent in English. Number 5, mistake number 5 is you are too stressed about your goals in English. Now, getting too much stressed about the goal of becoming fluent in English. There are lots of factors which can lead to this particular stress. That can be a deadline that you have given to yourself, which is not practical. If you're giving yourself a deadline of 3 months, that's not practical. You are creating stress for yourself. That is not achievable at all. If you are creating a particular goal of learning 1000 words at the end of the month, again, you are doing something to stress yourself out. Why don't you keep it natural? Why don't you create more simple goals, simple study plans in order to create a steady progress instead? You are too much stressed about the fluency. You're not thinking about these small aspects that binds together the fluency, that is the pronunciation, the vocabulary, the phrases, whatever you're learning, the speaking, the listening, reading, not focusing on that. You're just trying to speak English and then you're not trying to improve it. If you're speaking English, that's not the end of your struggle. Just speaking it out is not the end. You are speaking it, but what kind of English are you speaking? In order to become fluent, with speaking, you have to also improve your English side by side. It's like some people are able to improve their English, but some people, they just speak English, they don't focus on improving the English. Now this creates stress. So do not get stressed about this particular fluency goal. Instead of look at all the different aspects of English, try to cover everything up and try to set some achievable goals for yourself. Instead of stressing that I have to become fluent in just 6 months, I'm not becoming fluent, I'm doing so much, still I'm not able to speak the way I want to. Give yourself some time and have faith and keep on working in the right direction. That's important. So these are all the 5 points, 5 mistakes that people make, and these are the reasons why people never get to fluency. Some people are not able to become fluent in English. So avoid making these mistakes and you will be able to get fluent in English. It's not that difficult. The thing is that what are you planning, how you're approaching that English that you're learning, and are you setting some kind of achievable goals for yourself or not. So focus on everything. I have told you about the problem, and then I've also discussed the solution at the same time in all the points. So focus on the solution and apply all the solutions in your life, and you are going to get to the fluency, definitely. So that's it for today. I hope you liked the lesson. Now I'm going to see you tomorrow with a new lesson. Till then, take care and bye.